getting a job in this space is not linear at all. It's
Hmm.
really going to come from who you know, what you've worked on, and it could come a lot sooner than you think too. It can take a couple months, not even, to get into the space and then find work. So it's incredible what you can do if you really spend the time to dive in.
Hello, stereotype breakers, and welcome to yet another episode of the Meaningful Conversations podcast. Today's topic is very exciting because we're going to be talking about how to get started with a career in the crypto space. Whether you're looking to enter it as someone who has a technical background or whether you're entering it to, a softer skill job like marketing or, I don't know, finance. Everybody needs those types of roles. So my guest today knows a thing or two about the crypto space. So let me introduce Samantha to you. Sam is an educator and marketer who specializes in crypto. She has taught over 2,500 people blockchain fundamentals and has launched products for LinkedIn, Crunchbase, Chainalysis, and more. Her mission is to help people change their stories, whether an individual reshaping their finances or a breakthrough project wrestling with the right words. She is also the founder of the Blockhead, which is a beginner friendly resource for all things crypto. It was created to break through tech jargon and help people learn about cryptocurrency with easy to understand language. It fast tracks users through beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels so that they can feel confident navigating through the Web3 world, from Bitcoins to NFTs to DAOs and more. And so today we're going to be talking about how to get a job in crypto, in this space, from zero to hero without any previous background. So let's dive straight into our conversation. Hi, Sam. How are you doing?
Hey, Masha. I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you. Very excited for this conversation because I think this is such an important topic, and more people, are looking to get into the crypto space and to find a job there. So, what kinds of jobs are out there in the blockchain space? What kinds of professionals are in high demand in this field?
So when it comes to crypto, blockchain, I'm going to reference it as Web3 because I think
Hmm.
that's the hottest term that's being used and just really flying around right now. But there are plenty of jobs and a lot of jobs that are in high demand. So a lot of developers, if you're a writer, marketer, or creative in any way, there's insane demand. There's so many projects that need those type of skills.
Hmm.
But really anything can be converted. I mean, you're looking at a revolution from Web 2 to Web 3,
Hmm.
meaning you're looking at more decentralized organizations. So, yeah, you can pick any sort of industry and you're going to see that industry start to evolve into a Web 3 type structure.
Hmm.
So, I would say most industries you're going to find some job depending on where your skills lie.
The concept of Web3 is so hard to grasp. And I know we're talking about creating a Web3 101 video
Yeah.
because I need to understand this space myself. But I feel like for a lot of people, it's a big transition trying to understand how their jobs would look like in a different space. And of course, the space is booming right now, but it feels like there aren't a lot of people who do understand it. And it feels like there is a shortage of professionals in the field, people who have skills and who have understanding of the Web3, which makes me think of the fact that salaries must reflect the state of the world, this shortage of skilled people.
Mhm.
In your experience, do you think it's a good financial decision to get a job in a space? Is there a potential salary bump there?
I think you're going to find jobs, depending on your skills and interests, you're going to find jobs that run the gamut. You're definitely going to find jobs that will pay you more than you ever thought you could make.
Hmm.
I went through kind of an interview blitz last summer when I was looking for my next role, and there were some that undervalued where I was at based on my experience and skills, and then there were some that threw a ton of money at me. But it was really looking at, what is the best fit. And I think when it comes to Web3, it is a difficult concept to grasp. So I think I'll like quickly go through it. But when you think of Web 1, think of the first computer you ever used. This might have been something at your parents' house or the library, but it was like hooked up to a cable, and you're really only interacting with like read-only scripts, so like read-only blogs. The concept of logging in and having an account was still really foreign.
Mm-hmm.
I remember sending my first email and I was like, an account? Oh my gosh, I have an identity that's an email. What is this? And so then that was then the start of Web 2. And that is where, we have accounts on different services. We have more software platforms that we interact with. And so it's really, our data is kind of owned by these centralized platforms in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Web3 is taking it one step further, where all of a sudden you have full control over your identity and the data that you share.
Mm-hmm.
And you choose to partake in different platforms, but it's in a decentralized manner. So there's no central party that's acting as like king, if you will, for that platform. They're not benefiting from your data unless you give them the rights to do that. So it's a really interesting and kind of like difficult thing to process from a high level. But I think once people actually start to use decentralized tools, they suddenly understand. It can be as simple as buying $10, $5 worth of crypto, and then all of a sudden you put it in your wallet, and that's 100% yours. No one can touch it, freeze it, seize it. And all of a sudden, that is when like the light bulb moment happens. And you're like, oh, I get it. This is Web3. Okay. So what if we do that in all different ways, where content creators have full ownership over what they put out there and people pay them directly? There's no fees taken by a centralized platform, right? Recently, this last week, Etsy increased their fees by 30%. And so there's a mass amount of sellers on there that are boycotting and all going on vacation mode because they're like, this is ridiculous. This is eating into our profits. This is our income. This is our livelihood. Yeah. And so the more that Web2 companies do this, I think there's going to be more of a push for Web3. Today, specifically in my notepad, I have like a list of ideas and I was like, okay, Web3, Etsy. It's got to come at some point, right?
100%.
And I would say when it comes to salary, it's, some are going to offer you a lot of money for sure, because I think depending on the type of job that you get in Web3, there's an extra set of skills because you're working in a different context, right? And so that adjustment you're going to be paid for. And of course, there is a shortage. There's a huge shortage of designers, developers, marketers. My goodness, I work for Serotonin, which is like the main marketing agency in this space. And we see it. And I feel like most of the marketers in the space are either with us or they're, working in-house. And so I think for those that are getting into the space, be wary too, depending on the salary that you're being offered, because if it's too low, know that you can work for another company that you believe in at a price that you're worth. So don't like lower your value just because it's a new industry by any means. And then I would also say be wary of someone who is paying you above your value by a considered amount, because maybe the job that they're asking you to do is actually going to be a little bit more than what you think. Use your wits. Yeah.
Yeah. There's always free cheese is a mousetrap. Is that a saying? No,
it could be a saying.
It's a saying in my native language, so
Russia world, it's a saying.
It's definitely a saying in Russian, so that's why I'm just like translating it. That like came to mind, and sometimes I translate Russian phrases into English just because that's how I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, using your own judgment and common sense that like a huge salary increase, it might be like dodgy. What are they hiding behind it? But you have mentioned something that I want to dive deeper into, and that is that you do need to have not necessarily, a set of skills and a set of knowledge to apply your transferable skills to this new context, to this new environment, essentially. So in your experience, how easy it is, and having been in this space for a while, how easy is it for a person to gain that knowledge, gain that experience that is needed professionally to work in the field, regardless of whether they're, in the developer position or if they're in a marketer position? How easy is it to get that knowledge to be able to work in this space from, let's say, from zero, when they're coming from zero?
Excellent question. I think, from my experience and from the people who I've known to transition into the industry, you kind of dive in head first. Like this is an industry that moves so quickly. it's not like you're going to some 4-year school and getting a certification that says, you can work in blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
You just dive in, you start talking to people, you start going to events, whether in person or virtual, and you almost learn by osmosis just being in it. And then that way you kind of start to ramp up and understand the industry, how it works, the dynamics, and then you start to realize how your skills are applied in this arena, if you will. So I think for marketing, a great example is, you, let's say you're a Web2 marketer and
Mm-hmm.
you are pretty apt at, your different channels. You know how to like spin up a website, you know how to run a campaign over email and social and grab PR attention. Web3, you're doing those same things, but you're doing it in a much different way. Your
Mm-hmm.
audience has a totally different attitude. It's
Mm.
really imperative to understand the beliefs out there and the philosophies that are floating around Web3, because Web3 is based on kind of some contrarian beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
different ways, different systems. So I think really getting in the community, getting in the conversation, listening to what's being said, that's going to give you so much information and so much power and allow you to move more quickly,
Mm-hmm.
because then you will firsthand see, all the Discord servers and what makes a Discord server worth staying for, and which conversations on Twitter actually grab your attention and that you want to like maybe like or follow. Because then, reverse seats, now you're a Web3 marketer, you understand how to get into the conversation, you
Yeah.
understand which levers to pull. So I would say it's a lot, and it's not an easy industry to just slide right into. You're going to have to, kind of keep up with a really fast paced, really strong minded industry, but it's so worth it because it's also, I think, there are some of the most fascinating communities out there, and it's super creative and vibrant and honestly like beautiful to be involved with.
Yeah, it really sounds like a movement, an environment where people think so outside of the box that it's just so difficult to grasp thinking in the normal boxes that we're used to think about. So it sounds like a very interesting field to be in, and like by working in it, it sounds like you're part of making this history, right? Because I really do feel like the revolution is coming. It's already underway. We just don't know in which way like where it will go and how it will look. So, what steps, if you were to get a job in crypto right now and you are, you're thinking about transitioning into this field, you're thinking about getting the technical or, like soft skills that you need to be in this industry, what steps would you take to do that and to gain those skills and that experience? And like, let's break this question down in two parts for people who are going to into jobs that will involve coding, and for those people who are, more in the soft skill area of things where they're not necessarily directly coding every single day.
I think for both audiences, start following people on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Crypto, blockchain, a lot of it is native to Twitter. That's really where conversations happen. I would say avoid anything that seems a bit spammy.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a lot of things out there that's like buy your NFTs, blah, 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 or like fake accounts. So go through different lists and really follow the leaders in the space. I think some interesting ones are like Vitalik, for instance, the creator of Ethereum. Look at who he's following. I would say Amanda Cassette from Serotonin. She's really well connected. NFT platforms, start following different brands like OpenSea, other brands that you just come across in your research that you think are cool and interesting. And then that will kind of just lead you on this like rabbit hole of following more people. So I would say start with that. Once you start to get a little bit of the lay of the land, another thing you can do is sign up for newsletters. I would highly recommend the CoinDesk newsletter because that does a really great job of breaking down what's going on in the industry, but in a way that's approachable for new people. If you get a little bit deeper, I think the Defiant is also great, but it's going to be very DeFi heavy, and there's going to be a lot of terms in there that probably won't make sense to you if you're new. So just a couple of suggestions. There's also Cointelegraph, but CoinDesk has always been my favorite. Besides following things on Twitter and newsletters and really just starting to understand what's going on, To get more involved and kind of take your first step in, I would say start to attend events.
Mm-hmm.
So look at events in your area. I think a great thing that I did when I was first getting in, and I know that has helped other people, is to look at meetups. So
Mm-hmm.
most cities have a crypto meetup that you can go to, and this community is so welcoming. I like can't emphasize it enough. But you can go and be like, I know nothing about crypto, but I want to work in this space, and they will be so happy that you're there. They will connect you with whoever they can, really sit down and explain to you, what's going on, point you to more resources, point you to other meetups and events in the area that are happening. I'll actually like backtrack a bit and go into my story. So I first heard about Bitcoin in San Francisco, and I was living there, and there was something about it where I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, digital currency, that just makes sense. We're
Mm-hmm.
going into like such a digital, fueled world. That's what I did. And I started going to meetups, and sometimes I would have no idea what they were talking about, right? Sometimes there'd be like projects presenting to the group about what they're building. And I was like, all this is going over my head, but I'm going to stay and I'm just going to listen. And I would stay for the networking and just talk to people and learn about what they were doing. Sometimes they would ask me what I was doing. I was like, I'm brand new and I know nothing. And then after a couple of weeks, I was like, I think I'm going to write a blog on this, and I'm going to try and break down these concepts for people. Once I said that I was working on something in the space, or had that drive to actually do something in it and not just trade or,
Mm-hmm.
make a bunch of money, I felt like I was able to connect with people and just start my network exploded at that point.
Mm.
But yeah, events are great too, like conferences, because you can go and actually listen to people speak. And almost always they're not going to dive straight into technical details. They're going to give you an intro, you're going to have context, and things are going to start to sink in.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of actually finding those jobs and going to job boards, LinkedIn is not going to be the best place. It's not this straight edge thing. It's usually going to come from your network of who you know.
Okay.
It's going to come from things like Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to come from things like, if you're a writer and you have gotten into this space and you have a certain opinion, write a blog post on it. I
Mm-hmm.
know so many writers that are now doing incredibly well because they wrote a post that was really interesting. And someone noticed that on Twitter and said, hey, I like your voice. I think you're
Mm-hmm.
good at what you do. What do you want to, write for us? And so there's so much opportunity there if you just put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I would consider doing, especially if you identify as a female, but She256, spelled SHE256, the numbers, is an incredible nonprofit. They've been in the space for 5 or 6 years, I want to say, and it was formed by a few women at Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
They were students at the time, and they were like, we need more women in this space. And I completely jumped on board and agreed with them and kind of helped them figure out things in an early way. But I've watched them just completely explode. It's been amazing. And they have a mentor mentee program that's
Mm-hmm.
incredible. If you want to get involved, and let's say you have no skills but you have the interest, they will pair you with someone that's similar, who is already embedded in the industry and can help you. And I've been both a mentor and a mentee, and I can truly say it's like one of the best things I've ever been involved with in the space. And they also have a job board. On top of their job board, join their Discord. If you don't know what Discord is, it's basically like Slack, but on steroids, because there's so much more you can do. You can also hop in and out of it. It's not like something that you're chained to for life, but they have a channel that's like, they have a couple of different really interesting channels for new people getting into the space, but one, it's just job posts.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can directly talk to the recruiter or whoever posted it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people starting projects for the first time will post there and be like, hey, if you want to build up your portfolio, I need a designer for this thing, or writer, marketer, developer, whatever, engineer. Also, if you're, let's say you're that writer scenario and you just wrote this pretty interesting post, you could put it on their like show and tell channel. I would also recommend joining a DAO.
Mm-hmm.
A DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. And what that means is that, to be honest, it's kind of like a club, right? That's the easiest way to explain it. It's a lot of people who agree on a certain mission, or they just really enjoy the network. There's a treasury, but that's shared by everyone. And a lot of times, if you join a DAO, you automatically gain a really close network, and you can talk to them specifically in their Discord server and be like, hey, I'm looking for this. You'll have so many responses because they're much more tight-knit communities that like really want to help each other out. If you, let's say you do have more hard coding technical skills. There's like Builder DAO. There's very specific DAOs that are focused on, exactly what you're trying to get into. So I would say look at those, do some research. But again, like getting a job in this space is not linear at all. It's really going to come from who you know, what you've worked on, and it could come a lot sooner than you think too. It can take a couple months, not even, to get into the space and then find work. So it's incredible what you can do if you really spend the time to dive in.
It sounds both incredibly high paced, but then also a little intimidating and overwhelming. But that's the beauty of it, right? It's moving and it's evolving all of the time. And like one of the comments that I just want to make, that it sounds like this is an industry where you always have to have a beginner's mindset, and you always have to be okay with looking stuff up and being like, okay, there's a new terminology in town. Let's research it. I don't know everything. And like sometimes feel like an imposter because you will never know everything because it's just so high paced.
Completely.
And things are just coming up. At least that's what I'm hearing.
Yes. And I think it's having that beginner's mindset always is so important because it's evolving all the time. Constantly there's new technology that's coming out. I'm like, wait, what's a ZK rollup? Like, let's group huddle around this, So I think that's so important too.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. I'm just like super tempted to join a DAO and honestly like do a vlog about it, like how it works and all that stuff.
Her DAO. Shout out to her DAO also. A lot of female devs in that one too, but like incredible. Pretty linked with the bigger pie, which is how we met.
Yes, that is how we met. Okay, joining her DAO, like that's like goal for 2022. So, actually, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is around how do you find jobs? Are there job boards? And you already touched upon it, that it's more about who you know, your network, and like figuring that out through those communities, which is at the same time very beautiful because you jump into it and you network, you find your opportunities. But then at the same time, it's kind of almost scary in the way that you don't necessarily have all of the information about, the job requirements, like what kinds of jobs are out there. Is there a way to find out what kind of jobs are out there and like the job requirements, like to understand what could be a good fit for you, or like how would you go about that?
So while you probably won't find them on LinkedIn, I mean, you might, but I would say a lot of projects post on AngelList. I believe there's also like a web3.career, and there's some other places out there where you might find job boards, but most of these projects, and when I say projects, I mean like companies and brands in this space, some of them just move so fast that I like to think of them as projects. Most of them will also have job boards on their website. So a careers page or jobs page that you can find the actual job rec with information. You're probably going to find the most information about that job when you talk to the recruiter, because they will actually break it down of what they're really looking for. And I would always, 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 in any interview you have in this space, ask what they want right away, and then ask what you think this role could turn into in the future, because these companies are growing so quickly that your job will not look the same in 6 months or a year. So it's great to get a heads up of where they think your role would grow and how you would grow within the org. And then also do your due diligence. So talk to the people that you know in the space and say, hey, what do you think about working for this brand? What do you think about the organization? I would also think critically about which part of this industry you want to be in. Do you want to be on, within the NFT world and working for a platform that is connected to NFTs somehow, or an NFT project itself? Do you want to work on a layer 1 blockchain, a layer 2 blockchain? Do you want to work in the DeFi space? Do you want to work on technology that's positioned for social impact or climate change? It's really, I would say, use your interests as your compass and then go that direction and just do as much research as possible.
Honestly, that's the best kind of transition into my final question, which is, what are your 3 biggest pieces of advice for anyone who is thinking about getting a job in the cryptocurrency industry?
Ooh, that's a great question. I have like 30 pieces of advice.
Boil them down to 3. Top 3.
Okay, top 3. stay curious.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that curiosity should have a runway, and you should persevere with that because it's always new. And if you stay curious, you're not letting judgment get in the way. And I mean, judgment of external things like
Mm-hmm.
projects and technology, but also judgment of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because it can get daunting really fast. Things move so quickly. And this whole industry is something that comes from the cultural fringe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's coming closer to the mainstream now, but it still feels foreign. And I think that distance can really get people down if they try to get in. So I would say stay curious and make sure that you don't fall in that trap. Second is just network times 100. I can't emphasize enough how helpful people are and how welcoming they are to newbies. I think part of the fundamental philosophy of this space is that, hey, we want to do things that benefit the people more, and
Mm-hmm.
that's takes more of a collective outlook than something that is benefiting a very steep triangle where no one can get to the top, where it's just completely calcified and there's no opportunity for people in this type of old system. So because of this ideology, people are so open. So go to events, don't be shy, really network. When you talk to someone, make sure you connect in some way. I would say most people connect through Telegram, Twitter. You can do a phone number, but it kind of seems archaic with some of these other technologies. And then third, I would also say be careful of scams or anything that seems too good to be true. If it seems that way, it probably is. But it's something that happens in the space all the time. I mean, there are hackers constantly trying to find loopholes in different things. Axie Infinity just suffered a $600 million hack, which is, I think, the largest in DeFi ever. But it just goes to show, like, even though I would say 99% of people in this space are really wonderful humans that believe in a better future for everyone, there are those unfortunate bad apples that will kind of spoil things and try to take advantage of newbies entering the space and kind of their freshness. So yeah, if you're ever curious if something is a hacker or scam or whatever, reach out to the people that you've met and just be like, hey, is this a scam? Is this weird? I don't know. And your gut will tell you too. It'll just seem weird.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. I mean, like, yeah, free cheese is only on the mousetrap. Remember this phrase, kids.
I know.
Sam, thank you so much. I hope that this has cleared things up for a lot of people who are thinking about, getting into the space, but just are kind of overwhelmed. And, it does seem foreign, like you said, right? There is that big distance between mass and like what the movement, where the movement is going is just developing so fast that unless you are actively following it, it's just hard to keep up. So I'm sure a lot of people watching this have been like, okay, this is where I need to go. This is where I need to go. This is where I need to go. So thank you so much. And yeah, we need to do that Web3 101 because I need to learn.
Yeah, of course. No, we can definitely do Web3 101. Thank you so much for having me. If you are new to crypto, I would say go to theblockhead.com and sign up for the newsletter. There's a lot of content that is written in a really approachable way, very easy to understand, and it'll help you kind of dip your toes and really make sense of things, and many self-paced courses to come.
So. Ooh, exciting. All the links will be in the description wherever you're watching this. So go ahead and make sure you're following Blockhead. Sam, thank you so much. This was so much knowledge, so much, I mean, it's a whole universe out there with, Web3 and NFTs and metaverse, all that stuff. And the way it works is just, it's fascinating and very confusing at the same time. So I'm very excited for the Web3 101 video that we are going to produce together as well, where, hopefully we'll clarify, not hopefully, we will clarify those topics. Like, I know it. So all of the resources that Sam has mentioned will be linked in the description, and also the Blockhead, which is Sam's blog. And also she is working on courses. So by the time you're watching this video, there might be some courses up or there might be a wait list. But, the way she explains it all, I know those courses are going to be so down to earth. They will make sense visually for all of the visual learners out there. Hello. Hi. So I'm going to be doing them alongside you if you do Sam's courses. So yeah, let's sign up for that waitlist and just let me know what you thought about this interview in the comments. Super excited to hear your thoughts about why you are interested in a career in crypto. What is bringing you into this world? What is your background? What stage of your job search are you at? Are you just beginning? Are you already, kind of where you are, or are you already applying for jobs? Let me know in the comments. Like this video if you've enjoyed it, and share it with a friend who is also looking for jobs in crypto. Let's be honest. First of all, abundance mentality, and also there's so many jobs that are popping up every single day. So everybody has so much like opportunity in this space. So make sure you share it with some friends that you like and care about and want to succeed in their careers, because this might be a stepping stone to something beautiful. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you're watching it on YouTube, or to this podcast on the podcasting platform of choice if you're listening to it. And we can also be friends on other social media. You can find us as Stereotype Breakers. Have a wonderful time of the day you're currently experiencing. Bye.